The story begins with a woman walking into a classroom to be a substitute teacher for 1 week. She asks the students to sit down and introduces herself. At that time, a boy named Sagami seems curious about her. The teacher writes her name on the board and introduces herself as Asuka Nakamachi. After telling the class that she's always wanted to be a teacher, Asuka continues with the lesson. Later that night, after all the students have gone home, Asuka walks around the school building and hears a sound. She shines her flashlight toward the source and finds that the sound is coming from the music room. When she enters, she sees a boy singing and playing the guitar. But when he notices her, he quickly runs out, jumps on his bike, and leaves. Asuka is surprised, but she finds a small recorder left behind. It contains recordings of the boys singing, and Asuka seems to like his voice. Meanwhile, the boy realizes he left his recorder in the music room and comes back to get it. He sees Asuka listening to the recordings, and she asks him to sing again. The boy plays his guitar, and Asuka seems to really enjoy it. A week later, Asuka is watching her friend, Rurika, get proposed to by her boyfriend. Afterward, Asuka tells Rurika that she has found a good job as a housekeeper in a dorm. The pay seems nice, so Asuka decides to contact the person who posted about the job. She then goes to meet them and is introduced to a man named Kenji, the manager of Hanamaki Entertainment. He tells her she'll be hired for 2 weeks as a trial, and after that, the job could become permanent. While talking, Kenji accidentally mentions that the previous housekeeper ran away, but he quickly changes the topic and shows Asuka her room. The house is a bit messy. Kenji explains that she'll need to prepare breakfast at 7 a.m. and lunch only if requested. Dinner should be ready by 6:30 p.m. He also tells her to stock the fridge and do the laundry. As they sit, Kenji explains that Asuka will be living with a group of young men, and dating them is strictly forbidden. If she breaks the rule, she'll be fired immediately. There, Asuka assures Kenji that there will be no complaints from her. Kenji then explains that the boys are part of a band called Bloom, which used to be popular but doesn't have any recent hits or fans. Unexpectedly, Sagami, one of Asuka's former students, is also a member of the band. When he comes home and sees Asuka there, he's shocked and almost trips, but he grabs Asuka, and they both fall into an awkward position. Shortly after, another band members walk in and misunderstand what's happening. Nervously, Asuka explains that she's their new housekeeper. The boys then ask her to start working by doing their laundry. Asuka meets Sagami again, but she doesn't seem to remember him. Later, Asuka decides to learn more about the boys she's living with. Every morning, Asuka wakes up early to prepare breakfast. However, Sagami refuses to eat and seems upset with Asuka. While the other members go to school, an older man named Tori arrives, claiming to be the company president. He eats the breakfast Asuka made. Soon after, Tori takes Asuka to the company and shows her the boy band Bloom practicing. But Asuka soon finds out that the man she met isn't really the president. The boy band members explain that they don't know who Tori is either, but he seems to be running things. One of the members, who has a strong sense of smell, suddenly senses the real president, Hanamaki, arriving. Hanamaki explains that she plans to cancel Bloom's contract in 6 months because it can't be renewed. After hearing this, the Bloom members start arguing, and Sagami storms out, telling Asuka that another, better boy band is about to debut. Asuka encourages Sagami not to give up on his dream, but Sagami reminds her that she gave up on her own dream of becoming a teacher. So he doesn't want advice from someone who couldn't follow through with their own goals. Despite this, Asuka motivates the boy band, and they go to Hanamaki's office to ask her to renew their contract. Hanamaki agrees to give them a stage in 2 weeks. Afterward, the boy band prepares for their comeback. As they head to perform, a woman named Kasaka, who manages another boy band called Cheney, guides them to the rehearsal room where they will perform. The members of Cheney wish Bloom good luck before they go on stage. After Cheney finishes their performance, Bloom takes the stage and introduces themselves before starting their performance. They deliver an amazing show, and Asuka becomes emotional. Afterward, Hanamaki tells Bloom that if they can reach #1 on the streaming charts in the next 6 months, she will renew their contract. The next day, Asuka wakes up, prepares breakfast, does the laundry, and takes out the trash. The boy band members also wake up and get ready for their day. Sagami makes breakfast for himself, and they all sit down to eat together. Soon after, Kenji walks in and tells the band members that they need to leave in 20 minutes. A little later, Asuka meets with Hanamaki and signs a contract, officially making her the permanent housekeeper for the boy band Bloom's dorm. After that, Asuka goes to a photo shoot for the boy band and is surprised by their outfits. A high-ranking company member appears and dresses the boys to look like troublemakers. They look like gangsters, and Asuka feels unsure about their style. She suggests a flower theme instead, and the band members end up doing a photo shoot with a flower concept. Later, the band members complain that they don't have any plans scheduled for the next month, and Sagami says he'll take care of it. He then sends the members a strict schedule, including morning runs and waking up at 5 a.m. He even takes Asuka's phone and sends her a meal plan. One of the members, Narase, explains to Asuka that Sagami became distant after putting too much pressure on another band member, which caused him to leave. Narase hopes that Asuka won't quit because of Sagami's tough behavior. Long story short, Bloom gets a chance to perform at a shopping mall, and they start preparing for it. Later, Asuka goes to a party and promises to help promote the band. Time passes, and Asuka still hasn't returned. Sagami decides to call her, and Asuka finally calls back. Shortly after, Sagami goes to meet Asuka, who is trying to promote Bloom to some older people. Sagami feels embarrassed and surprised. However, Asuka is very drunk, so Sagami gives her some water to help sober her up. He then carries Asuka back to the dorm, and they talk on the way home. The next day, the older man named Tori shows up again, wishing the band good luck for their mascot costume performance. The members of Bloom and Asuka are confused because the flyer doesn't even have Bloom's name on it. Then, Asuka decides to check it out, as this wasn't what she had signed the band up for. She apologizes and tries to cancel the event because she doesn't want the members to wear costumes. The next day, Asuka is nowhere to be seen, but she has already prepared breakfast on the table. It turns out that Asuka and Rurika are wearing the mascot costumes so the Bloom members wouldn't have to. Meanwhile, the boys eat the breakfast Asuka made and realize that she went to help at the festival. Shortly after, a woman named Now enters, apologizing for the misunderstanding and wanting to say sorry to Asuka as well. After that, Now takes the boys to the shopping mall. As they walk through the mall, they notice people wearing their merchandise. They are surprised, and some older fans come up to them and express their love for the group. Soon after, the group approaches a mascot, thinking Asuka is inside, and asks what she wants them to do. The mascot shows them a flyer and tells them to perform. They agree but wonder if Sagami is okay with it. At that moment, Asuka suddenly calls out to them from behind. Confused, they ask who was in the mascot costume, and it turns out to be Sagami. Sagami explains that he wore the costume just to have some fun. However, a video of Sagami in the costume ends up going viral. Moments later, Rurika comes to see Asuka and tells her that she was betrayed by her fiancé. While Rurika is crying, Kasaka, the manager of Cheney, appears. She is now going to be the new manager of Bloom. The Bloom members ask if their original manager, Kenji, was fired, but Kenji arrives and says he wasn't. Kasaka then says she plans to turn Bloom into the next Cheney. After the Bloom members leave, Asuka talks to Rurika and asks her some questions. Rurika explains her situation, complaining about the girl who her fiancé cheated with, and she apologizes. Rurika then asks if she can stay overnight, but Asuka hesitates because she needs permission from the Bloom members. Asuka takes Rurika's dog for a walk, and Sagami joins her. Asuka asks Sagami if her friend can stay over, and Sagami replies that it's his room, so he can do whatever he wants. The next morning, Asuka and Sagami prepare breakfast and do the laundry together. While they're having breakfast, Kasaka comes in and says she plans to fire Asuka because the Bloom members are too dependent on her. Kasaka explains that the boys need to develop mental strength to work on their own and stop acting like children. That day, when the Bloom members come home, they tell Asuka they will clean the house, do the laundry, and wash the dishes by themselves. Asuka is confused at first, but the boys explain that they're trying to be more like Cheney and want to become independent. The next day, Asuka wakes up and sees the Bloom members making breakfast and doing chores. Not long after, Kasaka arrives and tells the boys that their followers have increased by 40%. The following day, the Bloom members are told they will be on TV. Everyone is excited to hear this. After that, Asuka takes her dog for a walk with Sagami, but they rush back home after getting a call from Narase. When they arrive, the Bloom dorm is a complete mess. The boys admit they were trying to use the washing machine to show Kasaka they could be independent, but they had no idea how to do chores. Then, they ended up breaking the washing machine by overloading it with clothes. At that time, Asuka tried to calm them down, but then Kasaka walks in and asks what happened. She continues to compare them to Cheney, but Asuka speaks up against the comparison. Later, while the Bloom members are filming with a famous weather reporter, they're distracted by some noises. They head downstairs and discover Rurika's cheating fiancé. The man makes rude comments about Asuka, but the Bloom members defend her. After the incident, Kasaka apologizes to everyone and tells Asuka that she doesn't want her to leave. Soon after, Sagami asks Asuka to go on a date, which the other members of Bloom misunderstand. Sagami explains that the reason he asked for the date at a popular spot is because President Hanamaki said they needed to do something different. As the group's producer, Sagami had never written a love song. The members then start talking about their own love stories to get inspiration for a new song. While sharing stories about their first crushes in second grade and beyond, Asuka and Sagami agree to go on the date. However, the other members tag along when they visit the zoo. At that time, everyone enjoys their time with the animals, and Asuka takes lots of photos of all the Bloom members. While sitting on a bench, Asuka reveals that she used to be a teacher, and the members seem really interested. After that, they head to another part of the zoo, and Asuka is accompanied by Sagami and Narase. When Sagami goes to get some drinks, Narase tells Asuka that when she asked Sagami to sing in the school's music room back then, the recording caught that moment. Whenever Sagami feels down, he listens to it. Asuka is surprised, and when Sagami returns, he admits it, making Asuka feel a bit nervous. Later, Asuka takes time off to help her sister Yuri at her shop, as her business has been booming thanks to a post from Cheney promoting her food on SNS. After the Bloom members finish practicing, they run into Kasaka, who offers to buy them food, but Sagami wants to go home. On the way back, Sagami meets Nao and asks for help. Sagami wants Nao to fix a cabinet door that Asuka has trouble opening. At that time, Nao seems a little sad after hearing that Sagami wants to make things easier for Asuka. After that, Sagami runs to Asuka and tells her that he fixed the door she had trouble opening. He keeps apologizing for what he said at the zoo, awkwardly gives her a hug, and then runs away. Sagami goes home, writes lyrics for a new song, and starts working on it. Later, while Asuka is doing laundry, Sagami shows up and sings the song he made. After that, the Bloom members head into the recording studio to record their new comeback song. Some time passes, and Asuka finds out that Bloom's new song is ranked at number 87. If Bloom doesn't reach number 1 by next week, it will be hard for them to renew their contract. At that moment, Asuka brings lunch to the Bloom members and cheers them up. Afterward, Asuka talks with Nao, who asks if the Bloom members are doing okay and apologizes for overhearing their conversation with Kasaka about the rankings. There, Asuka asks for Nao's support, and Nao says to give a message to Sagami, wishing him good luck and saying she's looking forward to his response. The next day, Sagami accidentally sees a notebook from one of his bandmates, detailing the strengths and talents of the other members. Not long after, Kasaka arrives and tells the Bloom members that they will perform 2 songs, Melody and Come Again, and their performance will be broadcast on King's Brunch, which will give them more publicity. The Bloom members thank Kasaka, and she reminds them to do a good job with their promotional activities. And everyone, including Asuka, is excited. Kasaka also approaches Asuka and gives her a gift, thanking her for the previous day. Asuka is confused about what she did, and Kasaka reminds her that Asuka pointed out a stain on her clothes. After thanking her again, the Bloom members hold a meeting, and Sagami notices Asuka helping his bandmates speak up. As the day goes by, the members work hard every day, practicing and promoting their new songs. Their popularity seems to be growing fast among teenagers. Later, while Asuka is folding clothes, she runs into Sagami. Asuka tells Sagami to give a return gift to Nao, but Sagami firmly refuses, saying he has someone else in mind. During practice, Tori suddenly mentions that he is in love with someone and leaves the room. The members wonder who Tori loves and assume it's President Hanamaki. They are later told by Kasaka that Tori is actually Hanamaki's secret boyfriend, which surprises even Kenji. After that, Kasaka tells the Bloom members to relax tomorrow because their big day is coming soon. Long story short, the Bloom members relax at a bathhouse where Nao works. Before leaving, Sagami gives Nao a ticket as a thank you for what she did. It's a ticket for Bloom's pre-Christmas live special. Unexpectedly, one of the Bloom members, Takara, accidentally hurts his leg while walking home with Asuka, which makes her worried. Soon after, Takara asks Asuka to keep his injury a secret from the other band members. However, Asuka tells him that no one will be happy if he hides his injury from the rest of Bloom, and Sagami agrees. The Bloom members then take Takara to the hospital to get his leg checked. The doctor tells Takara that he has a torn ligament and it will take 2 weeks to heal. Takara feels bad, blames himself, and admits he feels less talented than everyone else. But the Bloom members cheer him up, and they all head home. Later, Bloom performs in front of a large audience, singing beautifully while everyone enjoys the show. A few days later, Bloom reaches the top of the charts, becoming #1. Asuka cries tears of joy, and Sagami tells her he's coming to see her. When Sagami arrives, Nao suddenly jumps on him and gives him a big hug. Sagami is surprised by the hug and doesn't understand why Nao is doing it, but he doesn't have time to think about it. He goes to find Asuka, who has already gone back inside and accidentally saw them hugging. Soon after, Asuka apologizes, saying she didn't mean to interrupt Nao and Sagami. At that time, Sagami tries to explain that his relationship with Nao isn't what she thinks. Not long after, Sagami gets a call from Nao, but he ignores it and tells Asuka that he doesn't want her to misunderstand. Just as Sagami is about to confess his feelings, the other Bloom members arrive, and Asuka congratulates them on reaching #1. The Bloom members start packing because they will be busy soon. Asuka then goes to Ririka's house and tells her that she's been catching up on her favorite manga lately, since she has more free time. Ririka asks about Asuka's relationship with Sagami, and Asuka is shocked. She tells Ririka that nothing is going on between them. When Asuka returns to the Bloom dorm, she notices a broken cake nearby. She sits at the table and starts eating her food. Some Bloom members return and tell Asuka that the others are busy filming a duet video, while Sagami is occupied with something else. Narase mentions that Yukiya has been choreographing dance moves for their upcoming promotion at Sagami's old high school, where Asuka used to teach. Yukiya is considering inviting Ryosuke, a former member who also studied with Sagami at their old school. However, some of the Bloom members disagree with Yukiya, and they argue about whether to invite Ryosuke to their performance. Asuka goes out to buy something, but gets caught in the rain. Luckily, she runs into Sagami, who shares his umbrella with her. They have an awkward moment, which makes Asuka decide to buy her own umbrella. When she arrives at the dorm, there's chaos among the Bloom members. Someone had thrown a bottle onto their balcony, breaking a plant pot, and the Bloom members are shocked. When the agency hears about this, they come and take the Bloom members to stay at a hotel temporarily. The next day, Asuka catches Ryosuke trying to throw rocks at the Bloom dorm again. She brings him inside, and Ryosuke asks if she's going to call the police. There, Ryosuke talks about his frustrations, and soon the Bloom members arrive. They tell Ryosuke that they've been worried about him since he left without saying anything. Ryosuke admits that he wanted to take a break, but still wanted to come back. He says he told Sagami, but Sagami didn't inform anyone. Ryosuke then asks if he can go home if they don't call the police, and Sagami tells him he's free to leave whenever he wants. Sometime later, Ryosuke admits to Asuka that he had so many feelings bottled up inside, but he feels better after sharing his emotions with the Bloom members. Asuka suggests that Ryosuke should go watch his former bandmates perform. Shortly after, Ryosuke and Asuka rush to catch Bloom's show, but they're a little late. When Ryosuke arrives, he starts crying as he remembers his past with the band. After the performance ends, the group tries to make things right. There, Sagami realizes that Asuka isn't with Ryosuke and starts looking for her, thinking about what she once said about not wanting to go to school because she felt like she let people down. Unexpectedly, Asuka is having trouble breathing, and Sagami finds her, asking if she's okay. At the same time, Kojiro, a former colleague of Asuka, arrives and helps her to a car, asking if she's feeling calm now. At that time, Asuka tells him she's fine. Kojiro offers to drive her home, but she says it's not necessary and asks him to drop her off at the nearest station. However, he still drives her all the way home. When the Bloom members arrive home, they are greeted with a cake made by Asuka. Meanwhile, Kasaka and Kenji are having a meeting with President Hanamaki, who asks about the incident where Asuka fainted, and Kenji explains what happened. Later, Yukiya goes to Nao and tells her that they're throwing a party for Asuka the next day, and he asks if Nao wants to join. Yukiya is sure everyone will be happy to see her, but Nao says Sagami won't be pleased because he recently rejected her. At that time, Yukiya is surprised, and Nao tells him to keep quiet, but Yukiya continues to be supportive. The scene then shows Asuka's past. She was a great teacher who never turned down anyone who asked for her help, even if they were just using her. A student named Nita once asked for advice because he wanted to study abroad. There, Asuka encouraged him, but later, Nita's mother came to complain because she couldn't afford to support her studies overseas. During a meeting between Nita's mother and the other teachers, Asuka wasn't allowed to join. Overwhelmed with helping everyone, Asuka lost some answer sheets, which led to her being mocked by students and colleagues. After this, Asuka quit her teaching job and took a year off. Since then, she has been helping Yuri with her bento business. Back in the present, a party is held for Asuka, and she receives many gifts from the Bloom members, along with food they made. They even bring a cake they baked for her. Soon after, the members continue to thank Asuka for being their housekeeper. After the party ends, Sagami surprises everyone by confessing his love to Asuka. Sometime later, Bloom promotes their new comeback song before its release, and it quickly reaches the top of the charts. Asuka goes on a date with her former colleague, Kojiro, and thanks him afterward. When Asuka returns home, President Hanamaki arrives to meet with the group. Now, excitement fills the air as the Bloom members gather. Then, amazing news arrives that they have the chance to go on their first national tour. It's a dream come true and a huge step in their music journey. However, in the middle of the celebration, Sagami surprises everyone again by suggesting that one of the members should be the producer for their next music video to attract more attention. And Narase, the quiet member, feels nervous when Sagami chooses him to direct the upcoming music video. But then, Asuka encourages Narase, saying this is a great opportunity for him to shine. So, the music video is shot by the bright blue seaside in Japan, with Narase directing the crew on how to film it. After the recording, they all have a meal together. When the music video is released, it stays at the top of the charts for a long time. But suddenly, rumors start to spread. At that time, Sagami finds himself caught in a scandal when an article is published claiming he's in a relationship with their dorm housekeeper, Asuka. This news threatens the future of Bloom, and the company falls into chaos. Narase then asks Asuka to resign and leave the dorm immediately. The film ends. The moral lesson from this film is boy bands are like plants. They need lots of attention, food, and occasionally someone to yell at them.